Welcome to HouseLux Estate. Today we're doing a deep dive into David Deida's The Way of the Superior Man. You requested it, so we're excited to really unpack the core ideas here.
Yeah, absolutely. And our goal today isn't just, a book report. We want to really pull out the key insights on how Daida looks at the dynamic between what he calls masculine and feminine energies. And that's not just in relationships, but also like in work and our own personal growth journey.
Right. The subtitle kind of gives it away, doesn't it? A spiritual guide to mastering the challenges of women, work, and sexual desire. It really lays out the ground we'll be covering.
It does. And straight away, he introduces this concept of sexual polarity.
Polarity.
Yeah, the idea being that this attractive difference between masculine and feminine isn't just like a bonus. He frames it as the fundamental spark for attraction, for passion.
Okay, so it's essential in his view.
Pretty much. And he also talks about this figure, the newly evolving man, someone who holds both love and freedom.
Interesting. So thinking bigger picture then, what's the sort of narrative arc or journey the book takes us on?
Well, if you see it as a guide, it's mostly aimed at men. Particularly those with what he calls a masculine sexual essence. It's about living authentically, navigating relationships with women, who he generally describes as having a more feminine essence.
But he's careful about that distinction, right? It's not just rigid gender roles.
Exactly. These stresses, these are energetic things, tendencies people can embody either at different times. It's fluid, not fixed.
Okay, so not strict boxes. Good. So the key players in this narrative are like this archetypal superior man, conscious, purposeful masculinity, and the feminine partner embodying this radiant, flowing love. And the book tackles the friction, the misunderstandings that happen between these two.
Precisely. He jumps right in saying that understanding and really embracing this polarity is, well, the bedrock of passion, intimacy. It's about that magnetic pull, that attractive difference.
So without it, you might have friendship, but maybe not that deep passion.
That seems to be his argument, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you need that tension, that difference for the spark. Like musical notes, maybe. The harmony comes from the difference.
Okay, I get that. He also puts a lot of weight on a man's deepest purpose or mission. How does that connect?
Oh, that's huge in the book.
Right.
Really central. He argues that for the masculine essence, the core drive is towards freedom, realizing purpose in the world.
And that's different from the feminine essence's primary drive.
He contrasts it, yeah.
Yeah.
He suggests the feminine primary need is more towards love and connection. But the interesting part is how he links a man's connection to his own purpose with his strength, his presence, and how that benefits the relationship.
So it's not selfish, in his view, for a man to focus on his purpose.
Quite the opposite. He suggests that when a man is really aligned with his mission, his core is stronger, he's more present. And that's actually a gift to the relationship. It provides a foundation.
Right, I can see that. Like someone who's passionate about something just has a different energy.
Exactly that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
It radiates outwards.
And what about this living at your edge idea? Sounds intense.
It is presented as pretty crucial for masculine growth, yeah. Constantly challenging fears, leaning into discomfort.
So not being reckless, but just not settling.
Right, not getting stagnant. It's about expansion, engaging fully.
Okay, now a word that popped up was ravishment. That can sound a bit loaded. How does he mean it?
He tries to reframe it. He presents it as a loving, passionate breaking through of a partner's resistances, the goal being greater ecstasy, more openness. But the key is the intention. It has to come from love, not dominance or force.
Like leading strongly in a dance, maybe. Not forcing, but inviting deeper movement.
That's a good analogy, I think. Yeah, something closer to that. It's about passionate presence meeting resistance with love.
Okay. And the idea of women testing their men, what's behind that, according to Daida?
He suggests it's often an unconscious thing, a desire deep down to feel his strength, his truth, his unwavering love.
So not like a deliberate game, but more of an energetic probing?
Yeah, more like gauging his center. Can he stay strong and loving even when things get difficult or chaotic? That sort of thing.
That feels connected to the different communication styles he talks about. Masculine being direct, factual, and feminine being more emotional, expressive. That's a classic friction point.
Oh, absolutely. And Daida really hammers the point that men need to listen for the feeling underneath the words.
Not just the literal content.
Right. He even compares emotional feminine speech sometimes to poetry.
Yeah.
It's expressing a feeling energy in that moment, which might change. It's not always a fixed, logical argument.
Okay. And these feminine moods of closure, sounds like a diplomatic term.
Yeah, well, he presents them as natural cycles, part of the feminine essence. And his point is, the superior man's role isn't to try and fix her mood or just tolerate it,
Right.
but to actively, skillfully open her with love and his own unwavering consciousness. It's framed as a kind of gift the masculine can offer.
Interesting. So where does Daida see all this leading, these masculine and feminine paths?
Ultimately, he suggests they converge. The masculine desire for freedom, the feminine desire for love, he sees them both leading to the same place.
Which is?
What he calls the unbounded and infinite ground of being. It's a very spiritual endpoint, suggesting these drives are paths to the same ultimate reality.
Okay, quite profound. So, wrapping up the core ideas, what would you say was Daida's main intent in writing this book? What was he trying to achieve?
I think primarily it was about helping men drop pretense, live from their authentic masculine core, and also develop a much deeper understanding of their feminine partners.
So be more real, more present.
Yeah, and live with purpose in relationships, work, all of it. Be fully engaged.
He does include a pretty important disclaimer, though. We should mention that.
No, definitely. He's very clear that this isn't medical advice or psychological or spiritual advice in a prescriptive sense. It's offered as understandings, practices for exploration, personal inquiry, not a rule book.
Right. And the dedication also gives a hint about where this comes from for him.
Yes, he dedicates it to intimate partners and teachers. It suggests the book grows out of his own lived experience and learning from others.
And he also sets a baseline, doesn't he, about respect and equality.
Crucially, yes. He states clearly this is for people who already respect all genders, see men and women as equals, socially, politically, economically. His focus is on what comes after that foundation, exploring these inherent sexual and spiritual passions.
Okay, that's a really important context. Let's talk about some specific conflicts he raises and the resolutions he offers. First one, a man putting his relationship absolutely first, above his purpose.
Yeah, that's a big one for Daida. He sees that as weakening both the man and the relationship. The resolution, recommit to the mission, the purpose. That strengthens his core, makes him more present for the relationship, not less.
So the lesson is his fulfillment actually serves the partnership.
That's the idea. It benefits everyone.
Okay, another conflict. Misunderstanding feminine emotional expression, taking it too literally.
The common trap of treating emotional outpourings like logical arguments. His advice. Listen for the feeling. Respond with love and understanding, not just analysis or problem solving.
So the lesson is that the communication is often about the emotional flow itself.
Often, yes. More about expressing that energy than making a fixed point.
What about when a man tries to, calm down or fix intense female emotion?
Daida suggests a different path. Meet her energy with imperturbable love and unwavering consciousness. Meaning, don't try to shut it down. Be a strong, stable presence that can hold that intensity without getting thrown off balance. The lesson being, she's often looking for that strength, that capacity to meet her energy without flinching.
Okay. Then there's the issue of relationships becoming, sexually flat or neutralized.
Right. This can happen, he suggests, when the core purpose of the relationship gets fuzzy or isn't prioritized. The fix. Consciously choose a primary purpose for being together and align things around that.
So it requires intention to keep that polarity alive.
Exactly. It doesn't just happen on autopilot, especially long term.
Yeah.
It needs deliberate effort.
He also talks about a man feeling maybe controlled by the urge to ejaculate.
Yeah, and he advocates for conscious choice there, learning to redirect that sexual energy potentially towards non-ejaculatory whole-body orgasms. The lesson is about conscious sexual expression, deepening intimacy, and preserving energy.
And something seemingly simpler, breathing down the front of the body.
It sounds simple, but it connects to physical and energetic openness. Full, relaxed breathing, expanding the chest, letting energy flow down. It's about enhancing presence, the ability to give and receive more fully.
Okay. And finally, the conflict where a man doesn't provide direction in the relationship.
Daida's take is that the superior man does take clear direction, while still being totally open and responsive to his partner's feelings.
So it's not about being bossy, but providing a sense of direction.
Yeah, the lesson being that feminine energy often finds comfort and relaxation in trusting masculine direction. It allows her to feel secure.
Makes sense. Let's shift gears slightly to his writing style. What stands out?
Well, the direct address, for one. Using you constantly, it feels very personal, like a direct conversation.
Yeah, it pulls you in, and the language itself is quite potent.
Very evocative, yeah. Words like ravish, vanished, slingshot, they're strong, they create vivid images. It's definitely not dry.
Even the chapter titles are like little signposts.
Super concise, direct pointers to what's inside, and the structure, the parts like a man's way, body practices, it gives it a clear framework.
Now, thinking about the timing published in 1997, what's the context we should bear in mind?
Well, late 90s, there was a lot of talk about masculinity, relationships changing. This book was kind of pushing back against older, maybe more rigid macho ideas, trying to explore something more conscious, more loving.
So an evolution of sorts. How does it land today, do you think, in our current conversations about gender and relationships?
It's still relevant, definitely. People are still grappling with these dynamics, seeking deeper connection. But it's also fair to say it gets mixed reactions now. Some find the masculine-feminine essence stuff really insightful.
And others?
Others worry it might unintentionally reinforce some traditional gender roles. Even though he tries to frame it energetically, it definitely sparks debate.
So it requires critical thinking, engaging with it thoughtfully.
Absolutely. Like any work on these topics, really take what resonates, question what doesn't.
Okay, so reflecting on our whole dive here, what's a key personal insight for you? Something that stuck out?
For me, it's probably that strong link he makes between purpose and presence. The idea that aligning with your deepest truth isn't just personal, it actually serves your relationships. It moves beyond just being good to someone, towards being fully yourself with them.
Yeah, I get that. For me, it was probably the reminder about listening, really listening to the emotional layer, not just the words. It's such a common tripwire in communication, and his perspective on feminine expression as sometimes being like poetry. That's a useful frame.
I agree. And that concept of ravishment, once you get past the potentially jarring word itself, understanding it as this loving, strong presence that invites deeper connection, it's an interesting take on passion.
Definitely offers a different lens. Okay, so for everyone listening, let's leave you with some things to mull over. First off, this idea of sexual polarity, what parts of that, as Daida lays it out, resonate with your own experiences or understanding of relationships? Does it click for you?
And how about this concept of a personal mission or deepest purpose? How does that land for you in your own life, whatever your gender? Is that something you connect with?
Also, can you maybe spot any areas where you might be avoiding your edge? You know, choosing comfort over growth, like Daida warns against?
And what are your thoughts on the idea of a partner's tests? Does that concept make sense? How might you see that play out? Or how could you respond with more awareness?
Yeah, and finally, how do you observe that interplay between, say, providing direction and staying open to flow and connection in your own interactions? Where's the balance for you?
These are just prompts, of course. Something to chew on. Maybe even check out the book itself if this has piqued your interest.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the way of the superior man. We really hope it gave you some food for thought and maybe some new perspectives.
And if you found this useful and want more explorations like this, please do subscribe to HouseLux Estate. We'll be back with more.